And
Three,
we're recording.
2, 1, and go.
We're in that mode, no copyright. Anyway.
You changed it up so quick. Is that copyright though?
No, I don't
unless he
it's just biting off other people's content, which isn't right. That's kind of
Have you guys ever saw that guy? He is hilarious. He literally, all he does is haircut videos. Mm-hmm. And the way that he says his stuff is like, it be having me and him dying. Mm-hmm. You're like, sharpest razor in the city. Bro, go check him out. He's hilarious. I don't remember what his name is.
It was like Huncho something.
Yeah, something like that. But he's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome back. Episode 9. And if you notice, the mic is closer to me because I can't project my voice. So
Logan doesn't know how to project. I am naturally loud, as you guys can see. Plus, on top of that, I've done YouTube videos like before.
I was with YouTube
Logan.
Famous.
I was not. Anyway, I've done videos before, so I feel like I know how to kind of naturally project my voice. But anyway, we hope that you guys had a fantastic week. It is currently Monday for us. Gloomy Monday.
It's a gloomy day. My allergies. As you can see.
Pollen is out. It's crazy. We saw it on the car yesterday.
It's on the concrete outside, too.
Can't live. Anyway.
Can't live.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Spiritual Love, where we, love to talk about, I don't know. We still don't have an intro.
This is our intro. We'll just freestyle it. Anyway,
I'm Amara B.
Yep. We're back. Life is good.
You realize when I introduce myself, then that goes you introducing yourself. So
all right,
let's run that back.
My name is Logan.
No, well, hold up. Let's run it back because clearly you don't. I am Amara B.
I am Logan.
And we are your hosts of Spiritual Love.
Yep.
Anyway, so again, hope you guys have been having a great week.
We have. Busy. But life is good. Speaking of life is good, you ever have like...
Speaking of life is good.
I'm alright. No, like, life is really good, and then all of a sudden, life just starts lifing,
Sorry.
It just all crumbles down.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
I definitely resonate with that completely. I feel like there have been a lot of times in life where people go through like different trials and tribulations in their life. Whether it's like, I feel like it could be good trials and it could be bad trials. But mostly whenever you're going through it, it's usually something bad happening.
Yeah, and it could be little stuff too. Because sometimes, there would be maybe one day where you put your pants on and there's a $10 bill in your pocket you forgot you had. And then all of a sudden the next day you go out to work and you're running late and you hit every single red light and then you stub your toe on your way in there. It's just a bad day.
And then you get fired. Say no. That's a little extreme.
No, you get
I said, and then you get fired. No, but like on a serious note, I feel like we go through different trials and tribulations in life. And I feel like everybody deals with it differently. How do you deal with the trials that you go through?
Honestly, I just kind of roll with the punches. I'm like, okay.
So you never like freak out about?
No, I guess it depends on what it is. Because like at my job, sometimes it'll be like smooth sailing, and then all of a sudden they want to hit you with a million different emails and things to do.
And then you get stressed. And
then they're like, oh yeah, we want this done yesterday.
But not even like work related. I mean like life.
Yeah.
Like not work related though.
Like for example, this apartment, right? We went, it was great. We're like, all right, we're about to move in 2 days. And then all of a sudden they were like, hey, do you have your gas company set up? And we're like,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah, but I wouldn't even call that like a crazy trial. It was just more so of like an inconvenience. You know what I mean? But
then there was also the part where we moved into the apartment and then there was like a leak. Right. And we work from home, so there's maintenance in there going, drilling and hammering away and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm talking about like those trials that kind of like test your faith, you know, like to the point where you kind of start questioning your faith of God and everything, you know,
like somebody like passes away or something, or like out of
right?
the blue, like your best friend ever is just like, I don't want to be friends anymore or something. Yeah.
Yeah, something that's like really detrimental to the point where it can make you angry, or you know, you could have some type of like resentment towards God because of what's going on.
Yeah, like you lose your job or something.
Losing your job or
for absolutely no reason.
Exactly. So, what are well, I just asked you what type of trials you've gone through. Let me explain something that I've gone through. Or more so, I could explain a recent situation with my mom. So, my mom actually I know you guys, I can't talk too much about this because of my job.
Oh.
But HIPAA?
Yeah.
No, because of my job. But you know, with the new administration and everything moving in, there have been a lot of changes that have happened that have kind of affected a lot of people in dramatic ways. And my mom was one of those people. And going through this situation now, she's been angry, she's been crying, she's been depressed. I don't want to like get into all of her information, but you know some of the things that she's gone through, and things that I think that may be happening and stuff. But I feel like when you get into situations where you face something that is so detrimental to your life, and you kind of like start kind of like blaming God, like why are you throwing these unnecessary trials at me, especially if it's like you're in a situation where life is great and then things go bad, or if you know, it's like kind of a roller coaster effect where things are good and then they're bad and then they're good and then they're bad, you know. So for those people, I resonate with them because I feel like I used to be in a situation like that as well. But seeing what my mom is going through personally has, honestly, I could see how it would test a person's faith.
Yeah, because it is hard because, you know, we have a very limited understanding of things while we're here, you know? And, you know, it's like, I can't remember what verse it was. It was where God was like, my thoughts are not your thoughts. And it's like, I think it was like, as high as the heavens are from the earth is how vast God's knowledge is versus ours. So it's like, if God allowed you to get fired from a job, you know,
it probably wasn't meant to be.
There's a reason,
or it might be another opportunity out there. But some people don't look at it like that. So that leads into the next segment of the different types of situations. So I personally believe there are two situations that can happen when you face different trials of how a person will react, right? So I believe you can have a struggle mentality or you can have a strength mentality. So I feel like with a struggle mentality, some people look at it as, you know, why is God doing this to me? You know, I feel like I'm always constant, kind of everything that I just touched on before. Why is this off? Like, I'm always going through something that is, you know, testing my faith in life or testing me. Like, I don't even want to live at this point anymore because I feel like it's always something happening in my life. And then I think on the other hand, you have people who look at the trials and tribulations that come into their life. They kind of look at it as, God like giving his battles to his strongest soldiers, right? And they kind of have like a better outlook about it. So I feel like it really comes down to how you look at that trial that you're facing. I know that's kind of harder said than done because depending on what you're going through, it could be so serious to the point where you literally just are like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even want to be here anymore, you know?
Right.
Like, I've faced situations like that where I faced a trial where it was just things happening left and right. And I had that struggle mentality of, why is this happening to me? You know, and I feel like we gotta that's why it's important to have God in your corner. Like, what are you doing through those trials and tribulations? You know, are you praying? Are you talking to God? Do you have the right people in your corner? You know, what are you doing? Are you just facing everything alone and feel like, because I was that person where I felt like I could do everything by myself in my own strength. And God quickly showed me every single time, No.
Yeah.
That's not how this works. You need me. You need partnership. Exactly what Pastor Stephen says. Like, God didn't put us in this world to be alone. He put us in this world to be in partnership, community. To have community. Correct. So I feel like you fall in either one of those categories depending on how you take those trials and tribulations and how you kind of process them.
Yeah, because I think there's two good examples of that in the Bible. There's obviously Joseph. He had his own story, and then there's Job.
Yeah.
Who had his own book. So I think Job is probably the most extreme example of, you have it all. Literally at the time, I think Job was like one of the richest men in the world at the time. Like, he had literally anything you could imagine. He had it. And he got all taken away from him. But then he got it restored because he stayed strong in his faith. Now, his friend group probably wasn't the best that he had talking in his ear.
Yeah.
But I think that's...
Even his wife, right?
His wife died, I think. Or she left him. I can't remember.
I thought she was talking bad, too.
Yeah, I think she was, like, talking trash about him to his face. Yeah, and then... Because I think that is an important example of you just need to have faith no matter what happens. I know it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But remember Job, he had herds of livestock, which at the time was a symbol of your wealth. The more livestock you had, that was like equivalent to today you owning dozens of rental properties.
Yeah.
And businesses and stuff. So he had all that taken away from him. His kids were killed. His wife left him. His friends were like talking bad stuff into his ear. Like, well, you obviously did something that made God angry. What did you do? They saying stuff that you don't really need to be hearing.
Yeah. Especially
because Job didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Right. It was just more of God allowing Satan to tempt him.
Sorry, someone's calling me on my work phone. Go ahead. Someone's calling me on my work phone. Go ahead.
But, it's just an example of God used Satan to attack Job and tempt him. But Job stayed strong in his faith and eventually endured, which that could be also another topic or a conversation for a different time, that Satan is... Because I think when people go through hardships, right, you see there's two kinds of people. It's like, there's people like, man, the devil's at it again, right? And other people are in a situation because they kind of put themselves there. But we're talking about the people who feel like the devil's at it again, right?
To kind of like piggyback on that though, I feel like people give the devil too much credit.
They do, because I was about to get into because the devil is really on a leash.
Yeah.
Like, he's really not that strong. All he can really do is tempt you. That's really all he can do.
Because I think that some people, like you said, they'll blame the devil immediately. But sometimes, believe it or not, God will put you in situations because maybe he's trying to elevate you to that next level. Maybe he's trying to grow you into, a better person. Whatever the case may be, or whatever situation, you're facing and God feels like you have to approach it in a certain way. He may put those obstacles in your way to see if you are ready for the next thing that he has for you. So a lot of people give the devil so much credit. They're like, oh, the devil at it again, And it's just like, maybe God was doing that for a reason. Maybe you should reassess what's going on in your life, because whatever obstacle you're facing right now, it may be to your greatness. Right. You never know.
Because, what if you're working a job, right? And you hate it, but you refuse to quit because you're like, well, what am I going to do if I quit? So maybe God might be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to put it on your boss's heart to fire you because you refuse to quit.
Yeah.
Then God's like, listen, if you're not going to quit and take this next blessing I'm going to provide for you, then you know what? We're just going to fire you instead.
Same thing with relationships.
Pushes you over to... Yeah.
Same thing with relationships. I feel like sometimes we'll get into places where we get so content with the person that we're with, and even though we know we don't need to be with that person anymore, we kind of get complacent with what's going on, whether the person is cheating on you or the person is just treating you like trash, right? Or they're abusive. Like, we get complacent to the point where we're like, I would rather not be alone, then I'll rather deal with this than to be alone, right? And God will put you in a situation where he's like, nope, okay, I'm going to make something so crazy happen in this relationship that you cannot, like, say no to leaving this relationship. You know, like, you never know. God may put you in certain situations. So you brought up the story of Job. The one that resonates with me is the story of Joseph. So if you guys aren't, first of all, if you guys aren't familiar with the story of Job, definitely go read the Bible. If you want to give them a synopsis.
So Job, be a quick rundown. So basically, God was talking to Satan, saying, he was like, what are you doing? He's I'm just, floating around here, doing whatever. And then, really not doing anything. And then God was like, well, since you're not busy, have you seen my servant Job? Mm-hmm. He's the most faithful of my servants at this time. And Satan was like, well, he only does that because you give him stuff. Because, like I said, Job was very, very wealthy. He had a massive family, amazing family and friends and mansion, all this land and stuff. So Satan was like, he only loves you because you gave him all that stuff. So he's like, oh, okay. Why don't you go mess with him then? Mm-hmm. He's like, what? He's like, yeah. Go ahead.
Literally,
do your
God
worst.
gave him permission
to
mess with him.
He basically said, go ahead, do your worst, and watch. He's not going to lose.
He had that much faith in Job. Mm-hmm. And that's another reason, not to cut you off, but that's another reason why I say you never know what God may be doing in your life or what God may be allowing to happen in your life. You never know where it may lead, or you never know what situation is happening behind closed doors. God, it may be a situation where it's like Job, where God literally was like, hey, do your worst. I bet he will still be by my side at the end of this. You never know what is happening in the spiritual realm. Yeah. Right.
And then anyway, Satan did all this bad stuff. Job's family was killed. He lost his money, his land, his livestock. He had boils growing all over and got really sick. And all this other nonsense. But he endured to the end. And God repaid him 7 times what was taken from him. So not only did he get paid back what was lost, but he got even more.
Right. So definitely check that story out because it's actually one of my favorite stories in the Bible. But another one that resonates with me is the story of Joseph. So if you guys aren't familiar with the story of Joseph, just in a nutshell, I'm going to try to break it down. I don't want to make it too lengthy, but basically it's about a brother. He was a brother of how many was it?
I think it was
7? Wasn't it 7? It was a couple. It was a couple of them.
Okay?
He had a lot of siblings. So he was a brother, and God gave him this vision, and he told him basically, "You're gonna rule over all of your siblings, right?"
Oh, yeah, and Joseph was, I believe, the youngest.
Yeah. Yes, he was the youngest. So of course, I don't know what age God told him this, but you know how younger children are. If somebody comes up to you and they tell you something like that, and then you make your head blow up and stuff, right? So he goes over to his brothers and he's like, "Hey, guess what?" So and it kind of irritated his brothers because, like he said, like he was the youngest of his brothers. So imagine your younger sibling coming to you, telling you something like that, and then it's gonna make you like, hey, I'm going to be greater than you. What do you mean? So anyway, long story short, his brothers betrayed him by selling him into slavery, which is crazy. I know it was other stuff that happened before that, but I'm just trying to jump ahead. So they basically sold him into slavery. You could read the whole story to see what happened before that, and then they decided to sell him into slavery. And then after that, he ended up going to Egypt. And he was a prisoner in Egypt. Was he a prisoner at first?
So he was a slave to a guy named Potiphar.
Right. Yes. He was a slave to Potiphar. And then what happened with that was basically Potiphar's wife was mad that he didn't want her. Long story short, boop, made him a prisoner. Sent him to jail. So then, anyway, long story short, at the end of it, he ended up being a great... what am I trying to say?
He was in prison for a long time. He had the ability to interpret dreams. So the Pharaoh...
Well, I was trying to jump to that, and I didn't want to tell him the whole story. I meant, like, at the end of it, he ended up doing something that was really important.
Yeah, he was second in command of Egypt, which was the most powerful nation on the planet at the time.
Right. So if you want to actually, like, look at the whole story, I advise you to go read it. It's actually a really, really good story. But the reason why I say that resonates with me is because literally God gave Joseph a dream in the beginning, right? He told him, hey, this is what's going to happen in your life. This is what's going to be, you're going to be this, you're going to rule over all of your siblings. He didn't tell him how, he didn't tell him where, he didn't tell him when, he just told him that this was going to happen in your life, right? He didn't tell him anything in the middle of his story that happened. He didn't tell him that he was going to be in prison. He didn't tell him that for years at that. He didn't tell him that, the wife was going to throw him into prison. He didn't tell him that there was going to be a famine in Egypt. He didn't tell him any of that. He just told him, hey, this is the end of your story, right? So we never know if Joseph would have had the mindset and came to God, like if God would have told him, hey, this is everything that's going to happen, that's going to transpire in your life, right? And he told him all those trials and tribulations that he was going to go through. He probably would have been like, yeah, you got me messed up. You might as well pick somebody else. You know what I mean? So you just never know what God has planned for you in your life is what I'm trying to get at, right? But again, another amazing story that I feel like resonates with
and that's another example.
Your faith.
Yeah, because Joseph, just like Job, Joseph's story happened first, like hundreds of years before Job's, but they were both in the same because both Joseph and Job had faith.
Right.
And that's the key point
that's
to
the
take
key.
away. They stuck with it and endured to the end, and they were paid 7-10-fold for what happened before.
Right. So other than keeping your faith, what do you think are some other things that people can do to get through these trials?
Yeah. I mean, you need to do what else the Bible said. It was pray without ceasing. Have community, as friends, your church. People
and not having community. The right community is the key word to that. Because you could have the wrong people in your life and they may tell you the wrong things and send you down the wrong path. But if you have the right people in your life, you'll know, because you'll know God will tell you. I don't know if there may be situations where you may get convicted, and if you don't know what the feeling of conviction is, then it could be a little tougher for you to navigate, who you should be around, who you shouldn't be around. But definitely having the right community is important. And then I believe keeping keeping close to God is important as well. If you know what God wants from you and what God expects from you, there's nothing that anyone in this world can say to you or do to you that will take you off of whatever path that God has for you. You know what I mean?
Because God is not, the Bible says this too, that God is not a liar. So if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. No man can take that from you. Right. Just like the 3 Hebrew boys.
What's for you is for you.
Yeah, it's like literally faith in the fire. It's like the 3 Hebrew boys. They were thrown literally in the fire. Yeah. And there was a 4th one in there, which was God, to protect them. And it's like you gotta, no matter what adversity you have faith, pray without ceasing, be in your community. Because people, even if you lack faith in a season, having community that does have that faith to pick you up matters, because I can help too. Just like a real life example, like Pastor Philip at 2019 in Atlanta. He had a congregation in this building. The building was small and caused a lot of traffic. So the city of Atlanta, people started complaining. They wanted them out. And clearly, and then government, city officials in Atlanta were trying to kick him out. And they literally gave him a timeline. You need to be out by this date. Yeah. So obviously it's is that an attack on an enemy? Yes. Is it hard? Yeah, because it's you have a church, you have everyone trying to learn the word, and they're about to not have a church home. So him and his community, and even disciples all over the country and the world, they got together and they had faith, prayed without ceasing. People donated because he didn't have the money at the time to get a new building. Long story short, they actually end up finding a new building. Not only is this new building it's farther away, but it's a new building, new to them, because what I find is they haven't done a service in there yet as of the time of this video, but the new building is this really old, beat up warehouse, but it is big enough to fit literally everybody in there. So they used to have 3 overflows. Now they can fit everybody in there. Mm-hmm. So there was a season where his church, they give him a deadline, you got to get out. Mm-hmm. Now it's like on the verge, like, oh, we're not about to not have a church home, to now God blessing him with. Now, not only does he have a new church home, he has a bigger, better one that everybody can fit into, so you don't have to watch on the screen.
Right.
So it's like, yes, it's hard. Yeah, it sucks. Mm-hmm. But if you have faith, pray, communicate with your community, you can get through it. And you'll, on the other side of that door is going to be something better. Because like, even me, when we were moving here to New Jersey, I was trying to find a job. There was so many interviews I went on. I'm like, oh, this got to be the one. It's got to be the one. And then it seems like it would be perfect.
And it gets a little discouraging too. Yeah.
And then it sucks because then we're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm in the car and I get a call from a job that I don't even remember applying to. I don't even know if I applied to them. Yeah. I think it could have been someone on LinkedIn or something. They were like, hey, he's a recruiter. He's like, hey, got this position open. You want to interview for it? I was like, sure. Mm-hmm. And it's a job that I love and I have time to do this podcast.
Because I would definitely say you went off on faith coming here to New Jersey with me, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, you literally, there was no plan. There was nothing. It was just, not to say that wasn't a plan, but you know what I mean? Like, there was no plan on, like, you didn't know, you were applying for jobs, but you didn't have a certain, like, a said and done date that you were going to start or anything like that. It was like, you were still figuring it out, because it was like 3 weeks where you were just in the house and you just, like, were like, bro.
Yeah, because, and then it's like, not only do I get a job, it was a attempt to hire. They hired me and they said, hey, what do you want to get paid? And I gave them a number, and then they gave me more than what I asked for. Yeah. So it's like,
it's a lot of great things that has come from this. So you never know what your, I don't want to say prize, but what greatness will be on the other side of that door, like he said. I think it's the biggest thing to take out of this is, whenever you go through different obstacles. Sorry. Whenever you're going through any different trials and tribulations, don't look at it as God abandoning you from something. Look at it as, you know what? I'm going to have faith. I'm going to have strength through this time, and I'm going to push through. And at the end of the day, God's going to have my back. God is never going to see his children, do bad. He's never going to put his children in a situation that they can't handle, So I'm just going to keep having my faith in God, keep praying, and keep pushing forward. And the next thing you know, once you walk through that door, you're going to see so many great things that come to your life. And you're just going to be like, wow, all I had to do was have faith. All I had to do was believe. All I had to do was trust. Not manifest.
Because you can't do anything.
You can't do anything in your own power. Only God can do it. God has the ultimate power to do it. Yeah. So, that would be my biggest take. But we hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys comment down below. Subscribe.
Share with your friends.
Share with your friends. We have 3 subscribers.
Hey, let's see if we can get the 4 after this episode.
Yeah.
That'll be a nice goal.
Hey, we always say, we always jokingly say, but we really mean it. Even if we only touch one person, that's all we're here for. We're here to spread God's word in the best way that we know how. We're not proclaiming ourselves to be preachers or any of that. We are literally just 2 regular people who love God and see the things that God has done in our lives, and we just want to spread that joy, spread that love, and show you guys everything that
we'll do it.
Yeah, like this is I don't think we ever touched. Yeah, this is a topic for another time because I don't think we ever touched base on why we even started the podcast in the first place.
I think we did a little bit, but
but anyway, we hope that you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys in the next.
And let's
video.
try to get to. We appreciate all of our subscribers, so let's try to get to 4 subscribers after this. I'm being so serious.
I know you are.
Then we'll get to 4, then we'll maybe bump up to like 10 next time.
And I believe God will bless us with 100.
Yes.
Okay.
At the end of a month, 100 subscribers.
Or sooner. Who knows? Anyway.
Goals.
We're done chatting. We'll see you guys in episode 10.